Murder, J Murder, J Murder, J Murder, fucking name. Heckler house, Heckler house. Oh, 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 oh.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Now, this past coming week, all I saw going on was Trump's cutting off India. He says they're lost to China, and if they're not going to come to the table and negotiate like the terrorists and stuff, then they're gone. He's not going to deal with them anymore. Other than that, I mean, they did bring up the whole Epstein files thing again. I agree with Tim Pool. There's definitely a type of list or whatever of rich and powerful people who were involved in that crap. I mean, you literally have proof, the evidence, that Prince in the UK or whatever, he was proven to be part of that, and he won't come back to the US. He's staying in his own country because he knows if he comes over here, they're going to arrest him. We know Clinton Bill was involved in that shit. I mean, you have the evidence, you have the proof, but there's no arrest being made. They won't release the names. They say, well, we got to protect the children or the young women from back then, blah blah blah, which they're all adults now. No, the victims, we got to protect the victims on these videos. No, we're not asking for the names of the victims and shit. We just want the names of the fucking people involved, and then them arrested and thrown in jail. Duh. But no, it's all a bunch of BS. Nobody's going to get arrested. Nobody's going to be put in jail because there's way too many rich and powerful people on that list. And I wouldn't put it past the fact that there's someone involved on that list that Trump wants to protect. Like, I'm not saying everybody on there, but there's got to be someone on that list that he does not want being exposed. I don't think he had anything involvement or anything to do with it, but there's definitely someone on that list that he does not want to expose. That's why he's not pushing for it. But that whole thing where the women came out and they're all like, oh, we were victims, we got our own list, we're going to compile it and blah blah blah. Dude, this shit's 20 years old. If they had a list, they could have came out with it a long time ago. They're wanting book deals and shit like that. They want to get paid, so they're not releasing any names for that reason. And I just don't buy. I think it was staged. It was, that whole press conference was an act. Anyways, that's all I saw. Alright, that's my thoughts on that. Let's move on. So, as I've said before, even if you don't watch the channel regularly, and you've only seen a couple videos, or you don't watch it at all, it only takes 2 seconds to hit that subscribe button. It doesn't affect you or your channel whatsoever. It just helps this channel grow. So please subscribe. Also, I have another channel. It's called Easy Does It. The link is in the About section. check it out if you like gaming vlogs and reviews and reactions to other YouTube channels. Okay. Again, subscribe. What I want to talk to you about, as I keep stating, I have quite a number of reviews to get through. They say that new movie Red Sonja's trash. I may eventually get around to watching it just to see how really bad it is and give you a review on it, but not at this point in time. It'll be a little bit. So not long ago I watched this new show called Murderbot. It's a sci-fi kind of an adventure thing. You have these group of people who are basically a communist compound, community, whatever. There's like, I think there's like 8 of them or some shit like, I can't remember the exact number. But they're a group of scientists. And in order to do what they're doing, they have to go through this fucking company or some shit that runs all the spacecraft, which is weird. And they force them to get a security robot by them. Like, everyone has to have one, or several. And I'm like, that's just weird. So supposedly they get this robot or android, whatever you want to call him. He's been reverberized or whatever, you know, his memory's been wiped from the last place he was working. Supposedly he was working in these mines, which you see at the very beginning of the pilot episode. And then, like, he calls himself Murderbot because he went and killed a bunch of them miners or whatever. Apparently he overrides some program to where he's got be compliant and complicit in every order they give him, and he overrided that this time around, so he doesn't tell the group he's with or protecting that he's done that. He keeps it quiet for a while. About halfway through the series, they find out that he's actually sentient. Now throughout the best, he's watching like this show that's like a parody of Star Trek or some shit like that, and he's filling his memory banks or data banks with it. He automatically uploads crap to this company, like he's spying on these people almost. He's not doing it intentionally, it's just part of his programming. Even though he's overrided it, he still keeps doing it because it's just, you know, his thing to do. Eventually they run into another group who there's every now and then, you know, somebody will find alien tech on a world, and they're supposed to report it to the company. But there are pirates who will try to take that tech and sell it to the highest bidder. They found some on this planet. They think that this community group has it, so the pirates start attacking them and killing them, and then he has to do the Murderbot, which what he's calling himself, because one of the guys, he has a chip in his head and he was able to log into him and bring up his old memories. But he he has to defend them against this other group. And at first, they don't want to listen to him, even though none of them have any military training or anything like that. You know, they want to fight him about it. But then he eventually gets them to do what he needs them to do. And then he saves the day finally, blah, blah, blah. They've had to repair him a couple times and shit like that. And he saved their lives like several times throughout the show. And then at the end, the main scientist, this black woman, she tells him, you know, you do what you think you need to do. We're here for you if you need us. So he takes off. And that's the end of the season. You know, he wants to do his own thing, be his own self. So he takes off and leaves them behind. And that's the end of the show. It was okay. You do have to deal with some woke shit, like the whole lesbian open relationship shit. There's 3 of them. It's dumb. The characters are dumb in this show. The only one I liked was the android or robot. The rest of them were just dumb. I didn't care for any of them. You can check it out if you want. You just have to get past the woke crap. Because like I said, there is a little bit of it in there. Yeah, I mean, come on, they're like communist. You know, commune. You know, it's very bizarre. Anyways, you know, it's worth a one-time watch, I guess. I'd give it a thumbs up, thumbs down. Check it out if you want. I don't like highly recommend it or anything, but you know, if you're into sci-fi, you may want to check it out. Okay, let's get on to your B-movie reviews. Alright, movie holics, this week is Horror Week. I got a really old one for you, and then one that's a little older. The first one was done in 1964. It only made about 1.25 million. It's called The 7 Faces of Dr. Lao. It stars Tony Randall and Barbara Eden. I guess this is a Warner Brothers film. Basically, the story is you have this, I don't like a town set in the early 50s, late 40s, early 50s, and almost looks like an old west town. You have this Chinese immigrant that shows up, and he says he's bringing in a circus for everyone to check out. And he has like several freaks or whatever in the circus. The townspeople, they're fighting over the land with this other guy who wants to buy all the land, so he's telling them to leave and take payouts because, unbeknownst to most of the townspeople, there's a railroad coming through, and it's going to make them rich or whatever, blah blah blah. But this guy, he wants to own all the properties, so that when the railroad comes through, they'll pay him a lot of money to own all the properties. Anyways, that's the main story. And then, of course, everybody in the town goes and sees the circus of Dr. Lao. Now, he's kind of strange. I'm not sure exactly what he is, because he's performing actual magic in some cases, and causing things to happen. And then his freaks are kind of weird. He's got one guy who's blind. He's a seer. He can see into the future. He comes off as a fortune teller. And then he's got this guy who claims he's Pan. You know, the mythical flute player that has the goat legs or whatever and the horns. Barbara Eden goes and sees him one point in time, and he changes into this big hunky man or whatever when he looks like crap to begin with. It doesn't look like a goat man. And then, you know, it freaks her out. There's they call him an abominable snowman, but it just, you can tell it's a goofy looking dude in a suit. Then there's this snake that mimics people, can even talk. It's done with claymation, which is fine. I mean, it's the 60s. And then he does this thing where at one point in time, he does this, I don't know if they're supposed to think it's a video, a screen or whatever, and they're watching a movie, but it's like floating around them in like this tent, and they're all watching it, and I'm like, really? They're not a little freaked out by that? I don't know. It's kind of weird. And then he has this supposed pet Loch Ness monster, you know, a sea serpent or whatever, in this glass jar, like a fishbowl. And apparently if it gets out and it starts to dry off, it gets really large. At one point in time, he has to get it wet again to get it back in the fishbowl, because it does get out. But anyway, in the end, the townsfolk do not need to sell, and Dr. Lao, he leaves the town, and that's the end of the movie. I mean, I don't really consider it horror. It was more like a dark fantasy comedy, black comedy kind of thing. Although I didn't really find it all that funny. I mean, it, it, it just wasn't really my type of movie. It was okay. I give it thumbs up, thumbs down. It's okay for a one-time watch, but it wasn't anything spectacular or whatnot. Let's move on to your next B movie, and it's called Spookies, and it was done in 1986, and it only made about 18,000. It really didn't do all that well. It starred Felix Ward and Maria Puchikas. I guess that's how you pronounce her last name. Anyways, from what I understand, what I read up on this movie is they had a bunch of writers. They were going to write like an anthology type movie, but it turned out it didn't work out that way. Had two or three different directors trying to direct it. So what they did was they cut pieces from the anthology writing and spliced them up and put them all together to make one coherent movie. But a lot of it just didn't make any sense whatsoever. The main story, which is told throughout the movie, is there's this dead guy who's constantly feeding souls to his dead bride so she can stay young and rejuvenated, and he needs a few more souls to make her immortal like him, except for he's dead. You can tell he's a dead dude, and she looks normal, like a living person. She doesn't want that. She doesn't want anything to do with him, but he's obsessed with her. And he's become an occultist, and he's learned dark magic and how to summon demons and creatures and blah blah blah. And she's freaked out by it. She wants to get away. She doesn't like him. Well, you have this group of people that show up. They came from a party, and they randomly find this place, and they decide to continue to party there, right? Well, they basically get killed off one by one. The girl that's supposed to be the dude's love interest or whatever, she eventually escapes, but in the end she gets captured again at the very end, and by this, I don't know what the hell he is. He looks terrible. It's supposed to be like some cat human hybrid looking motherfucker, but he looks silly. And then the dead guy, which, at one point in time, she escapes from, like, basically tries to kill him. You come find out he's not dead at the very end. But I don't know. It was a weird movie. It really was. You got zombies and ghoul type creatures and vampires and even a spider queen. It's really weird. And I've seen some YouTube videos when they talk about this movie, mentioned in like one of their lists, like horror movie list or whatever, and that's like a cult classic. The fuck is it? Fuck it is, It is not. No one's hardly even heard of this movie. It's not a classic. It's a terrible movie. It's really bad. I do not recommend this movie. I didn't think it was that good at all. I thought it was kind of dumb. I give it 2 thumbs down. But if you're a horror fan, you want to check it out, go ahead and check it out. I'm just saying, you're going to be disappointed because it was terrible. Really bad. Bad acting. The story was dumb. They meshed all these stories together and it just didn't make any sense. It was all over the place. Okay, so that's all I have for you this week. If you have any thoughts about what I talked about earlier in the video, please leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. If you have any suggestions of, movies that you never even have heard of, or you think I might not have seen, underrated gems or some crap like that, that's my forte, is, finding stuff that most people's never seen or heard of. Please leave your suggestions down in the comment section down below. I'll get to reviewing it as soon as I can. So, until next time, I told you be told the truth, and you've just been told.